Hey everybody, Brian here to talk to you about how to repair scratched parts that you may receive. You may be asking, why is it your responsibility to repair scratched parts? It's not. If they come damaged and scratched, you're owed new parts. But with cabinet parts especially, and even drawer boxes and other things, they take a little bit of time to come in, even on a replacement, up to a week. If there's a finished side on a cabinet side, it can be a little longer than that. And some customers want to just keep the project moving. They have relatives in for the weekend, they want to finish the assembly and get their cabinets going. In which case, we can put the power back in your hands by sending you aerosol cans of Topcoat. You can also do this for painted product, but we can send you aerosol cans of Topcoat that allow you to lightly sand down the damaged area and reshoot it with the Topcoat, and you're off and running again. So I want to demonstrate that. This is just an old drawer box we have on a sample cabinet here in our shop. So it's not a customer project. You might be like, hey, it's kind of dirty. But anyway, you'll see a close-up of the scratch I'm going to be repairing. You should see that on your screen now. All we do is take some 320 sandpaper. I like to use an orbital sander because it keeps me from burying in too far in one area. Keeps a nice even surface so I can kind of sand the whole area evenly. So I like a palm sander, but you can do it with hand sandpaper if need be. I like a grit like 320. Don't go any coarser than 320, like to a 220. It's going to create too much scratch pattern. It's going to be too angry. You're going to have to go back at it with a softer grit anyway to kind of get the fibers to stand back down. You will be potentially cutting through to raw wood on something like a drawer box in that injured area. The rest of the area, you shouldn't even go below the top coat, the original top coat. You'll just be cutting through some of the top coat, but not all the way through. And what we want to do is sand the entire area, not just right here, because that will give it like a little concave effect where you sanded too hard in that one area. We want to kind of sand the whole area nice and flat. So I'll show you how I do that now, and then we just get a rag and wipe off the excess top coat that we powdered up and hit it with the top coat. So let me show you how that goes. Okay, I'll get my rag, but I sanded until I couldn't see the scratch anymore, and that's the objective, is to try to sand smoothly and evenly to get that scratch to go away without, if possible, without cutting all the way through the top coat. If you happen to get through the solid wood, it's okay, you're putting clear right back over it. So I'm going to get a rag off camera here with some solvent on it, light solvent like mineral spirits or naphtha. Just clean up the debris, I'll call it, or the powdered up top coat, and then we'll shoot the aerosol can. Okay, so we're all wiped down. I used naphtha, which is just lighter fluid, so if you haven't got any solvent around, even lighter fluid would work fine. Again, you wait for that to flash off a little bit. You don't want to go over it when it's soaking wet. Make sure your rattle can is nicely shaken. There's a ball bearing in there. You want to make sure that thing's moving around real good. I would shake it. I've already shaken this for a while, but I would say a minute or so if you're using a fresh can, you should do it. And now we want to start about 14 inches away from the surface. You don't want to be right up on it. You're going to get puddles and like defined edges. You want to kind of fog this on. I'm going to fog on the entire area that I sanded, not just the scratch. So we just kind of little misting spritzes of it. You don't have to go heavy because you're going to come back and do this a couple times. And that's my first coat. So we're going to come back and do probably another coat after this. That coat, it depends on how it looks, but that coat I may scuff sand really quick, very quickly with like a light grit, like an 800, just to give it a scratch pattern and knock down any fibers that stood up or whatever, and then I'll put that final coat on. Now, one point I do want to make is if you have a very superficial scratch, and it hasn't really made too much of a depression in the top coat, you don't even need to sand it. You can just go right over it with the aerosol can generally. The scratch pattern is nice to give it a mechanical adhesion as well as a chemical one. So it's got that little microscopic scratch pattern. It gives something that new top coat to grab onto. So even if you just lightly scuff it with a 320 before you hit it, you don't got to really get into it the way I did to make that scratch go away. Okay, wrapping up our clear repair here. Let's summarize the steps. I happen to sand this one with the orbital sander. You don't always have to sand. You can try your repair without sanding first. Maybe a light sanding with a light grit sandpaper just to give you a scratch pattern, but you don't have to really bore into it. I did, to get this deeper scratch to go away, I did 2 coats of clear on this. Before the final coat of clear, I did a light sanding. So it's clear, light sanding, clear, and I'm fogging the whole area here, not just the spot that I scratched. So that gives you an idea on how you can make, even on a drawer box side, you can make a pretty heinous scratch that was pretty deep. I had to go almost to raw wood to get it to go away. you can get those to disappear pretty well. If you have any questions or you need a can of this aerosol, just give your sales rep, or cabinet coach as we call them, a call, 888-211-6482. Thanks again for watching.